You are at the Almighty Church of Rock on a Sunday night with the Buffalo Springfield for what it's worth, man. From 1966 and the year of my birth. Before that, Bloody in the Veins with My Black Little Heart, our dedication to our friend Lynette. We do have a smoke break coming up later this, the next couple of hours, some Young Bloods. And we have a special guest. It is Valentine's Day. And exactly 4 months ago, we started part one with our conversation with Lynette Frommy about her brand new book, which is called Reflection. It's available now through the Peas in a Hall Press. It's a nearly 500-page book that was printed on recycled paper. It's a really awesome book, basically chronicling mostly between the years of 67 and 69, also talking about Lynette's life as well. If you're looking to purchase the book, you can go to goodbyehelterskelter.com. And this book has no talk about death or darkness or anything like that whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, let's bring her on the air now so she can get her 2 cents in with all of this. Lynette Frommy, how are you tonight?
Hi, okay.
I'm glad we got a good,
right.
We can hear you okay.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. So can I ask, has the book been selling okay?
That is not my department. I don't even, I don't usually ask about anything relative to sales. All I'm interested in is that I wrote down what I remembered, and all the notes that I had collected over the years, I put them together, and I hoped to leave that behind in my passing. I'm not planning on leaving now, but it feels very good to have put it down there, and I don't have to worry about that.
And you started,
go ahead.
You started chronicling this book, and sorry to interrupt, you started chronicling this book back in 1970, so that's how you were able to keep such careful notes, and that's why your memory seems so darn good, is because you've kept this thing for years and kept adding to it, correct?
Right. People have asked me, people have said, I'm amazed at your memory. Well, it isn't just memory. I would never have remembered all these things. But every time I remembered conversations that impressed me, I remembered little vignettes about people. I remembered scenes and settings. I would just jot things down. I had letters from people. I lost some of it because I carried it all the way through the prison system, and at a certain point they wanted us to have 25 pieces of paper. And I had a good friend who helped me put it on both sides of pages and, tuck things in so that I could retain it. And then when I got out, I was able to sit down many nights and just put it all together.
Well, we are very glad you did, because, out of all the books that came out of the late 60s and early 70s, and then forward, of course, most of them tell either the same tale or regurgitated versions of the same tale with different lies. Like, for instance, Diane Lake, a.k.a. Snake, her book is out now, and from what I've been hearing, there's all kinds of information in there that just isn't true, and I know you were there, so you would know if anyone would.
Snake. I remember Snake as a cute and kind of funny, very young girl. We were all young, so she didn't seem that much younger than us. But when she came to stay with us, she was probably 14, 15, and she had already been living in a variety of places, and I think that even then she had some confusion about her, where to be, where to live, who to look up to. I think she had left her parents way too early, so she didn't seem like a very solid person. And as it ended up, we kind of had to take care of her because her parents had split up and they were on a hippie, well, I call it hippie now, but it's just they were on a different route. They were traveling and...
Hog farmers.
Well, not just that. I mean, I think they stayed at the hog farm for a while, but she doesn't... Diane doesn't even remember how she got her name. We called her Snake because a group of us girls were in the kitchen preparing dinner, and one of the girls said that her mother had told her if she took LSD, she would turn into a vegetable, and then we were all being silly and portraying vegetables. We were enacting vegetable characters, you know. And it was just play. And then we got into animal characters, and Diane, she was usually very quiet, and she just did this little, she put her head forward, and her eyes kind of went wall-eyed. She went, and her tongue started flicking out, and she was a snake, so we called her Snake. Since then, the name has become various, you know, peculiar things to people, usually relating to sex, because the what we called straight people were, I mean, everything that they thought had to do with either sex or that we were all on drugs or that, not just us, but, you know, everybody in San Francisco. I heard Mickey Hart say something interesting. He said they didn't consider themselves hippies, which it hadn't occurred to me that people who were in the lifestyle weren't calling themselves anything, and that's how it was with us. We weren't calling ourselves family or hippie or anything. We were living life, and we were living music and just experiencing what we saw our parents give up, because they seemed to be stuck in lifestyles that were designed just to acquire whatever was on television or whatever people told you should have.
Yeah.
And
so things instead of like something in the heart, it's more of like they were into collecting physical things, which never bring happiness, obviously.
They don't seem to. I mean, for momentarily, I suppose, but and for convenience. But after a certain amount of convenience, you lose experience.
Well, you know, Lynn, after we have talked about this off the air too, and the last time we spoke with you, October 14th, we had about an hour chat, and I'd say 70 to 80% of the feedback we got, and there was at least 10 or 12,000 people that listened according to the YouTube. Most people thought it was a really interesting conversation. They were happy to hear from you, but there were definitely quite a few that were really throwing some ugly stones at Sister Tracy and myself, basically accusing us of not taking the responsibility of speaking with you seriously enough to answer or ask you more deep questions. I'm not exactly sure why people want to hear the bloodlusty kind of things or why they want you to be so militant, but you said it was okay to maybe address some of these questions that people have brought to our attention.
If I can answer them, I will. And if not, I guess I'm just wordless. I don't know if I can. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. And there are always going to be, no matter what you do, and I'm sure you're aware of this, no matter what you do, there are always going to be people out there who want to focus on the negative side of things, or they want to point out, the things that they feel they could do better. Or my take on it was kind of like, wow, the questions that some people had asked or commented, it's kind of like, wow, you're talking about things that have been written about or talked about a billion times, and we're not trying to rehash anything that's been talked about 1,000 times, or especially things that are kind of inquirer type stuff, because we're not that kind of show. We try to put out the positive and the truth. And so that's what we're here to do tonight. And I know that's what you're here to do as well. So I think the Reverend's going to go ahead and give you some of those comments maybe that people had asked about.
Okay.
I know that you told me off the air, a lot of people will find this surprising, but a lot of books state this inaccuracy that you stalked the band Led Zeppelin one time in order to get to Jimmy Page. That's not true, correct?
Right. No, I don't. I honestly, as much as my roommate here is amazed by it, I didn't know who Jimmy Page was. I mean, it's just that we didn't have television. We didn't have we weren't into magazines. I think by the early 70s, I had heard Stairway to Heaven, of course. I heard radio, but I didn't know who Led Zeppelin was.
Right.
Yeah, how does it go from that to stalking Jimmy Page? I don't know.
No, somebody made a comment. It's kind of like I think Diane Lake does it in her book. I believe it wasn't her, but her co-writer or the editors said something to her like, well, it could have been Lynette, and it could have been Patricia Krenwinkel. They would rather have names of people who have been in the news than anonymous people.
Right.
So they stick them in there. Now, to me, I mean, it seems like a total lie to do that, but that is the way of the world.
Right. A lot of people, Lynn, had asked me why we didn't ask you. After doing the 34-year stretch, was it surreal for you to come out and see that the world had changed so radically? Or what was it like when you were able to finally be free again?
Ooh, I didn't think it had changed that much.
Really?
People kept telling me, boy, this is going to be a big change for you. The big difference was I had this little 1-inch, it was about 1 inch wide and 3 inches tall, a cell phone. And I was on a train. I was on a train, calling somebody. To me, that was amazing.
I bet.
There are things like that were amazing. But it was equally amazing to find out that the Internet had been made into a garbage dump. And I mean, I really love the idea of being able to tap in word meaning, blah, 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 recipe, It's very cool to find out how to do things. I bet you, I've never looked it up, but I bet you it will tell you about electricity and plumbing and how to do your own
self-help,
home improvement.
Oh, for sure.
That.
It does. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. But besides that, I had to figure out, I mean, I don't have it now, but I have seen it where you have to figure out how to get by the ads and the scams.
Boy.
And that was creepy to me.
Yeah. A lot of people were wondering if you have, and if you do have, what is your relationship with, like today, with Sandra Good?
Oh, well, all my relationships are private.
Okay.
But, I value each and every one of those people who I knew back in the 60s. And I feel like I have a continuing relationship in that we shared experiences. Some of them, like Kathy Gillis, I would still have a relationship with, but she passed not too long ago.
And she was living like an hour and 20 minutes from us over in Cave Junction, Oregon.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the idea that I hear that Bobby Beausoleil might be possibly up for parole? Any thoughts on that?
Oh, God, I hope yes. I mean, he should. When I was in prison, I saw many people get out after a short time, and some of the crimes were really awful, you know. I mean, some of them were horrible to think about, but it used to be said that murder was one of the least likely, a person in for murder was the least likely to come back to prison for anything.
I see.
Usually it had been a circumstance and momentary or decision, and they won't come back.
So the recidivism rate percentages would be different, say, for murder, say, than somebody that has a drug reoccurring addiction or theft problem or something like that.
Exactly, yeah.
What about Leslie Van Houten? I hear she possibly might get up for parole. Any thoughts on that?
No, I wish the best for all of them.
Good, okay.
I don't have any, I have no, certainly no negative thoughts.
Good.
Regarding that. And Leslie, I didn't know Leslie very well. The group of us got to be so big, and in order to maintain our circumstance, in order to maintain a residence, a place to live, and take care of all the food and all the doings.
Yeah.
It was necessary to be in different places at different times. So I didn't know Leslie well, but she was a kid. I mean, to me, we were all teenagers almost. I think I turned 20 in '68, but we were young.
Well, on page number 433 of your book, which, again, if you're tuning in right now, we are speaking with Lynette Fromme. Her new book is called Reflection. It's available online at www.goodbyehelterskelter.com. Page 433 of your book, which is a very positive book, it says that Charlie, quote, asked me if I would spend the night with Bobby so that he could be with Leslie. I didn't understand his reasons, and I declined. I said, he's not you. And you said that could have been a point of contention. I was wondering, were you on sort of a pedestal with Charlie compared to, like, say, the other women? Did you guys have...
You know what? No, that was never a reality with me. Sandy Good is the one that told me that she thought that Charlie favored me, that she thought that other people were jealous of me. From my perspective, I was jealous. I mean, I could have been jealous of all the other girls because each one of them had talents and capabilities that I didn't have. And each one, like Leslie and Sandy in particular, were beautiful. I felt very honored to be in their presence.
It's funny, too, because she's expressed, and I've read quotes from Sandy saying that she felt kind of like you're expressing, like she was jealous of you guys.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know this. In fact, she didn't express it until later. I got to know her, I thought, well, and then a lot of this came out, and we were dealing with it. We're shuffling it back and forth, and she was kind of angry about it. So that's why I said in the book it may have been a point of contention.
Yeah.
Well, and you're talking about very young at the time.
Yeah, she was saying there she was 20.
Yeah, and that's.
I point out in the book that Charlie could have been one of those guys that goes around and collects women, but keeps them apart and tells them, "Yeah, I'll be back," And he really could have said, "I'm going to be on the road with my music, and I'll be back, and have a place for me when I get back." He could have had lots of families. He didn't do that. He was, there were two of us with him. Mary and I were with him, and he was looking at these other women on the street,
Yeah.
He said, "Look at that beautiful girl." And at first, I was just kind of amazed by it. And then, do you know what happened? I have a sense of beauty. I actually feel like I need beauty in my life. And I began looking at all these different people, male and female, in terms of their spark, their joy of life. It was, and then I began to feel the vicarious experience of these people. So, to me, it was nothing but an exponential sense of love. And because I felt that way, I took pleasure in other people's experiences of each other. When other people are in love, I always feel it. I always get I feel it.
Like empathic.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've read different people, and I've talked to several people, including Nicholas Schreck and others, that talked to Charlie often, and they said quite often that he had said he was influenced by your ideas and vice versa, especially about ATWA, ecology subjects. And I wonder if you could expand on that thought at all.
Sure. Well, we were, I was going to read something. Well, we were, all of us, influenced ourselves by realizing what was happening with the earth, and we expressed it. So he was very, very sensitive to the earth. I saw him at times. He didn't say anything. His feeling was palpable. His sensitivity to natural things. And he, like one time he said, after we were in the woods and he had seen deer, and he said, "The animals run from me." How? And he said, "I'm ashamed."
Wow.
And it wasn't a shame about being Charles Manson. It was a shame about being a human who had caused his wildlife to be so in fear of him that they had to run away.
Yeah.
He was tremendously sensitive.
That's deep. That's not to sound whatever, but that's and it's true. Even now, like, we live in a beautiful area where we're fortunate to be blessed with bear and lots of deer and big cats, and I'm a big nature lover, and I can say that I have felt that myself. Like, wow, the animals don't want to be near us because they've learned to be afraid of us because of what we've done to their habitat, what we've done to them, and it hurts, and it's it does make you on some type of primordial deep level feel that we've somehow lost our place, like we've lost our ability to live in harmony with nature and the other creatures in nature as well. So I could totally relate to that sentiment. I could relate to
Right. He said that the animals naturally are, we're their caretakers. We are, what we do reflects on their lives. In other words, we are the top animals as far as
The pecking
we are
order.
animals,
The
first
pecking
of all,
order.
and we're at the top, but it's not a matter of sublimation.
No.
It's not a matter of holding them down and controlling them. It's a matter of being the bright, creative, and dynamic animals that we actually are.
And you used the perfect word. We are supposed to be the caretakers of the planet. And
Right.
fortunately, we're not doing a very good job, in my opinion, at the moment. We haven't been doing a very good job for quite some time, which is why we need to, in my opinion, keep using our voices and whatever other talents that we have in order to be
That's
able.
why I appreciate what you're doing,
And
Yeah.
because you are sensitive to it. You know it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I feel that in you too. So, but yeah, hopefully we will witness some type of whatever you call it, a spiritual awakening, whatever it takes before it's too late, so that we can, become that caretaker again.
In any case, I think that once you know something, even if it's a difficult knowledge, you have to carry it,
Yeah.
and that in our personal lifetimes, there is a certain genuine reward in love, in just love. When you love something and you don't turn away from it just because it's hard, you get from it as much as you give. I think our generation and many of the people that we've known know that. It's hard to explain it to somebody who doesn't know, but you just keep living it.
True. I need to pause, my friends, for a station ID real quickly. Please forgive me for interrupting. You are listening to KSKQ 89.5 FM, Ashland, Oregon, and KSKQ Translator K231CW 94.1 FM, Medford, Oregon. You're at the Church of Rock radio show, 19 years of every Sunday night fun on KSKQ radio. Reverend Moody and Sister Tracy speaking with Lynette Fromme about her new book, which is called Reflection, and you can pick that up if interested at goodbyehelterskelter.com. That's where it's at anyway. And I know that you kept in touch with Cappy over the years, and in the early days, according to your book, yourself and Mary Bruner were like the first of the alliance and the friendships to start building. Did you keep in touch with Mary Bruner after all of the trials and everything?
The people I've kept in touch with are able to communicate. See, I'm not allowed to communicate with people.
Aw.
I have restrictions on my communications.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been told, you're not. I actually got permission to call and talk with Cappy before, and I'm so glad because I didn't know she was dying. I didn't know, and she didn't tell us either.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I didn't know you had all the restrictions. I knew you had restrictions as far as like the internet, but I didn't know how deep it went. I guess I should have not been so presumptuous because I guess that's, the government doing their thing, man,
Yeah, it's about, yeah.
Something intense that somebody asked me, and I really don't know a lot about this, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, and maybe not, but somebody was asking about Charlie's plan for the rituals and the ideology of the Order of the Rainbow. something that he says, I guess somebody said you had founded that with him and Blue in the mid-'70s. And is there something called the Order of the Rainbow?
He called us colors.
Right.
You know, it was George Spahn that named us different names, like Squeaky was a name. And that was George. And he was living a whole fantasy, and he was a lot of fun. But Charlie wanted to preserve the colors of the earth. He was always focused on earth. He was focused on redwood trees and, you know, the ocean and the sky and all of that. So he named us colors. You know, a lot of people said, "Oh, it's so too simplistic. It's just not what would you call it? Sophisticated enough." But when it came down to it, we realized that's where we need to be because without an earth, we have nothing. We have no place to enact our little dramas and our rituals of any kind. You know, he was not ritualistic at all.
Quite a few people said that they had followed like your case from the 70s all the way through, like the court transcripts and all that. And quite a few people were asking me if I could ask you, what the real motive was back in the 70s with the whole Ford incident. Was it the plight of the redwood trees, or was it to bring CM to court for a new trial? We were just wondering.
The Ford incident?
Yeah. Like, what was the motive behind it?
Well, first of all, we were not able to visit Charlie, and we really believed that we wanted to get the whole group of them back in a courtroom again. And particularly Blue and I were going around to factories and talking to workers, and we were gleaning information from all over the West Coast in particular about conditions. I guess I should keep this short, but also we were told that the redwoods were in danger of falling because erosion from the surrounding hills was causing the creeks to overflow. And you know, of all the trees that have shallow roots, it would seem that redwoods would not, but they do, because they pick up rain through their needles.
Interesting.
They pick up their moisture through the needles, and so the roots are so shallow that it was possible for them to fall. And we were saying, look, this is a monument to history. A redwood tree is, for people who don't know, the tall trees are the length of a football field plus 25 yards. You know, to me, that spoke very loudly. I thought, wow. You know, when you consider that you have trees that large and some trees of such a huge girth, it's not something you want to allow to be destroyed. And it was the lumber companies who were clear-cutting the surrounding hills.
Ah. Okay, well, thanks for that information. I appreciate it. I know are you shocked these days when people expect you to be kind of like so militant and like hard? I think people have like a preconceived idea of you, and I know none of us are the same people we were 30, 40 years ago. Does it surprise you or shock you that people expect that kind of militant, hard exterior from you?
Or that they expect, like that they know you or know what you're about? And
oh yeah, that's constant. Yeah,
that's going to be aggravating.
People will always say, well, you're this and you're that. But I started to read some of the blogs and criticism of things I had to say, and I decided not to, because whatever it is, it's about the person who's talking. A lot of what people say is about themselves.
It is.
This is true.
It is. We were talking about that very thing, that people put you in, well, they put, expect you to wear this mask or to put, be in this role, play this role for their sake. We are what people's perceptions of us are. Yeah, they put that on.
Yeah.
They put that on us, whoever we are.
Now, to me, it shortchanges yourself to limit other people, to cut off anything but your assumptions about somebody. It actually it cuts you off from an understanding about what makes people tick, what makes people do what they do, their life experience. I mean, imagine whole lifetimes get summed up in just little labels. So, yeah.
Something I wanted to ask you too, Lynette, on page number 247 of your book, you visited the shrine of Paramahansa Yogananda at the Self-Realization Fellowship. And I wonder if your concepts or if your personal beliefs about God have changed from then until now.
No, we visited. It was a beautiful setting. I think there is a point which I have no understanding of the language of the various Indian languages, East Indian or West Indian either. My understandings are limited of the different languages, and I have picked up a few of them, but they're not something that I was studying back then.
Right.
And it would be a lot. Too bad we don't have 200 years in a lifetime to,
amen.
pick up on the rest of the world.
Right.
You're right about that, and I think as Westerners, perhaps maybe intentionally, maybe we were kind of kept in the dark for so long. I mean, just in my 40-some years here on the planet, I look back now at the textbooks and things like that I was given to read in grade school, and then the things that I found myself searching for later on. And we were never told this. We were never told that. We were never introduced to, Hinduism and Taoism and
Buddhism
and the different schools of Buddhism and these are the other major religions of the world. You're talking tens and tens of millions of people, and that just always I think that was an eye-opening moment for me several decades back. So
I learned about a little bit about Buddhism from Hermann Hesse. I read Siddhartha.
Siddhartha, yeah.
I remember copying passages from Siddhartha because it was so much like what we were living and so much like what Charlie said. And then I realized, that all over the world you could be copying passages when in reality you could sit and hum with these people and know that there are other people who want the same peace and sense of communion with the world.
Harmony.
I grew up a Catholic. We went to communion to to receive the body and the blood of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And after a while, that seems really bizarre.
It does.
Talk about rituals.
Right.
So bizarre to me. You know, we were supposed to be in Maui, Hawaii this week visiting Ram Dass, but long story short, I remember you were telling me that you had been reading parts of Be Here Now by Ram Dass, and I just casually asked you before what you thought about it, and it was such an awesome answer. You said it was like organic food. That was such a great 2-line answer about Ram Dass. Organic food, perfect.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Lynn, we were asking earlier if there's any chance we could talk you into reading some passages from your new book, and I'm not sure if you're interested, but if so, we would be interested.
Okay. Well, one of the passages I wanted to read was about a preacher that we met. He was a Methodist preacher, but he had been experiencing this tremendous doubt and feeling that he was false, and every time he had this sense that he was a charlatan, he said he would get up on he would preach more fiercely, and it was bothering him a lot. Anyway, so he told us this, and he said that just talking about it was helping him. So I said Dean was not an atheist. He would continue to speak of God, but under no marquee of church or religion. He and Charlie reveled in history as put forth in the Bible about Jesus, his people, and times. But in a pensive moment, Charlie posed this question: if you were God and you loved your creation, would you want to be way up somewhere looking down on it? I wouldn't. I'd want to be right in the middle of it, living it.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's true. I would want to be in the middle of it as well. and
Yeah.
I
Later,
think
he said that God, the Father, and Jesus, the Son, are in the nature of man. Dean smiled with great pleasure, but disagreed. He revealed his belief that Charlie was man's son, Jesus Christ returned. Returned, Charlie said gleefully. Jesus Christ never went anywhere. Christ is a living consciousness. I may reflect it, but it's in you first, or you wouldn't recognize it. A lot of what he told me as I witnessed his coming to consciousness was that what I saw was in me, or I wouldn't recognize it. And it's not that, if you see something bad, it's not that you're all bad. It's not that you're all good. It's that there is an understanding of it there. There is something of you there that recognizes the truth. And that was interesting to me because I was thinking it's over there, and he kept putting it right back inside me.
Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty profound thing it's like a self-realization thing, I was taught that as well by Ram Dass, was that there's not really an external God, that it's all inside us. We are, in fact, God, part and parcel. Because when we're in the bodies, we're individuals, but if we all drop the body right this minute, all this consciousness kind of joins up back together, and that's what I think God is. I think that's cosmic consciousness.
It is.
And it's like a chandelier. We're like little lights of the chandelier. We all have our own little light going on, but really we're part of a bigger whole. So even if our light goes out, we're still part of it. So good or bad, ugly or pretty, negative or positive, we're still part and parcel. It's like a divine flame that we all kind of carry around if we choose to
shine.
Let that shine. We can be there for others, to be of service for others, or we can do the opposite and put the fire out and choose to live ignorantly and to live immorally and to hurt others or whatever.
Well, and it's
I think that a lot of the dissatisfaction and a lot of the pain and everything that people experience is because of that. They're afraid of it and unwilling, for whatever reason, to experience that.
Yeah.
So it's humbleness, or reverence, whatever you call it, love. We used to call it love. It can make you feel weak. It can make you feel small, but it can also glorify and do all those things too. So, wow, why would we turn away from that?
I don't know, but I feel like we kind of live in a society that doesn't really nurture that.
Right.
I know it's our responsibility, kind of, you said earlier, with knowledge comes responsibility. And with responsibility comes action. And people are, I think, afraid. So they turn away from that knowledge because they either don't want to act, it's scary to them, or maybe they don't know how to go about,
right,
what to do with that knowledge. But I think we live in a society where that knowledge is sometimes, almost purposely hidden from us, made us to feel like we are not divine sparks of God or goddess or whatever you want to call it. But we are, and I think...
yeah, it's made fun of.
Yeah,
people,
totally.
Satirize it.
Right?
Totally. And the word religion has become like a 4-letter word. And even spirituality, now that it's been completely commercialized, and, hot yoga, and, the whole thing has been just kind of commercialized now.
Love, not being able to use the word love freely like we did back in the 60s, I find that difficult, because a lot of times I want to sum things up just with that word, but it is a 4-letter word. It's become a joke. It's become an advertisement for whatever diamonds or stuff that people are selling. I just feel like the selling itself is a psychological trick, and that it damages, it damages us. I don't mind money per se, whatever. It doesn't have a real meaning to me, except for, are we going to have some kind of future? Are we going to be able to use it to turn, to get that garbage out of the ocean?
Yeah, in and of itself, money's not evil.
Right.
The book is called The book is called Reflection, my friends. If you're just tuning in, we are having a really awesome experience and conversation. It's part 2 of our talk with Lynette Fromme about her new book, loosely based around it, called Reflection, available at www.goodbyehelterskelter.com. Nearly 500 pages on recycled paper. I've read the book a couple of times. Its first printing was in 2018, so it is relatively new. I believe it was out in the summer. So, definitely something I recommend. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch upon, Lynette, or anything coming up that we should be aware of?
No, nothing that's coming up. I just want to make sure that it seems like a good amount of time, and I want you to be able to play your music. The song that affected a lot of us was "What About Me." It was who sang that?
What about me?
What about me?
Tracy is looking it up as we speak.
Yeah.
Her little fingers are typing real quickly here, so we'll have an answer probably in about 3 seconds.
I knew this about 2 days ago. This happens to me.
It's on the tip of my tongue as well. And let's see, Tracy, what do you got for us?
Well, there's more than one song that's titled "What About Me." Do we know maybe perhaps a year that it might have come out?
Well,
60, 70?
69 or 70.
Okay.
It says, "You poison my sweet waters, you cut down my green trees. The food you feed my children is the cause of their disease." It's a plaintive song. And
Boy, that's on the tip of my tongue. It's driving me crazy now. She's trying to find it, though, because we could play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not Buffalo Springfield, I don't think, although we heard them a lot.
We actually
and
played
Neil
them.
Young, of course.
We played Buffalo Springfield right before you came on the air today.
Yeah, I always like them.
Yeah, we played For What It's Worth, of course. Always got to love that song.
And just while I'm looking for this, Lynette, I just wondered if you had any kind of maybe a short message or a short something that you might want to say to people who, maybe don't come away feeling dissatisfied or something like, want to keep rehashing things that have been rehashed 1,000 times, because I'm sure we will hear, again, that we didn't ask the right questions, or that, do you have kind of an overall message to people about that?
No, I say, you live with your own thoughts. You live in your own world. If you're not interested in anything that I have to say, I'm certainly not. I'm not holding anybody to listen to me. It's not. It is up to you to figure out what you want. And if you don't want this, go somewhere else.
Thank you.
And that's exactly what I said. I don't read negative comments. I think I found the song. Would it happen to be a song by Quicksilver Messenger Service?
It is.
I did find it.
Oh, yeah, that's a beautiful song.
Well, how about if we play that before we get off the air tonight? We will do that for you.
Would appreciate it.
Quicksilver Messenger.
And I love Quicksilver Messenger Service. And once I typed in a couple of words about, poisoning the water and things like that, it came right up. So.
That's a beautiful song. And the author of that song, I'm not sure who the author is, but I had heard it once. Credit him, okay? Because I every time I heard that, I used to get a sense of both camaraderie with somebody who understands our viewpoint, and then of just complete, it's not devastation exactly, but it's a sense that there must be lots of people around the world who have these feelings for the earth and want to preserve it. And as long as there's anybody who feels that way, the universe will reflect it.
That's right.
And people that feel that way, that have that mutual empathy and have that spark of the divine, like I said earlier, I've always said that it's just a matter of those people coming together with that love in their hearts, and that if we could just do that without the fear that is often instilled purposely in us by the media or whatever it is, if we could just come together with that same one love, that we could fix our problems. Maybe not within a year because we've done some damage, but we could fix those problems, that it's not too late to do that. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but maybe I'm just the eternal optimist. I don't know.
Well, as long as you have a vision, as long as you imagine it, right?
Right.
I mean, that's a big part of what we are. Okay, so I think I should get off now, right?
Well, Lynn, thank you. Thanks a million for taking the time tonight. We really appreciate always talking to you, of course.
Absolutely, we do. So much.
No, I love you guys, and I appreciate it also. It gives me a much better, allows me to lie down and go to sleep with peace.
Well, we're going to play Quicksilver Messenger Service, also the Youngbloods, and a few other songs before we leave the airwaves. The book is called Reflection, available at www.goodbyehelterskelter.com. At the end of March, we will present an interview with George Stimson about his book, Goodbye Helter Skelter. Again, it's been super awesome speaking with you. You're listening to an interview with Lynette Fromme, and we really appreciate you and love you very much and wish the best for you.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Thanks so much, Lynn. We'll talk to you soon.
Good night.
Okay.
Bye-bye. And there we have it. That does wrap up part 2 and our conclusion of our series of two-part series of interview with Lynette Fromme, a.k.a. Red. Her book is called Reflection. It's a darn good book. The only positive spin on the year 67 to 69, a lot of those other books were put out by people looking to make a quick buck. There's a lot of things not true in the books written in the 60s and 70s about that whole case. And I'm not here to argue or stick up for whatever, but I just know that Lynn was there during that. She was not part of the helter-skelter stuff at all. She was never implicated for doing anything violent. She only did something to raise awareness for ecology, did her time, is out now, and is a productive member of this, if you want to call society,